Some of us YouTubers make it sound like starting a laser engraving business is the simplest thing ever. You buy a laser, you learn a few settings, and you start selling, right? What's so hard about that? But every single successful person I know in this business goes through 5 very distinct stages. And most people honestly get stuck right around the middle somewhere. Now, I'm not claiming to be some sort of expert or guru on laser engraving business or business in general. I've just been obsessed with figuring out how to turn this from a fun hobby into a real business that actually works. And I've been doing that for, many years. Through every upgrade, every late night engraving session, every failed project, I've tried to keep one goal in mind, which is to build something sustainable that matters, something that lets me keep creating and still manages to pay the bills. So in this video, I'm going to walk you through the 5 stages that every laser engraving business goes through, from that first hobby spark to building a recognizable brand, and more importantly, how to avoid some of the traps that slow people down, and I've fallen into a lot of those. I want to keep this as informal as possible and share just some of the things I've learned and maybe share a few of the perspectives on what I think I still don't know. So with that, let's get into this, and hopefully you'll get something out of it. Stage 1 is what I call the hobby spark. This is the moment when you buy your first laser, maybe it's a small diode machine or even an entry-level CO2, and you just can't stop experimenting with it. You're not really thinking about business yet. You're just amazed that this machine that you bought can do all these amazing things. So you start engraving everything in sight. You create some new coasters for your living room. You go to the kitchen and you grab a cutting board and you put some engraving on it. You even put your dog's name on some tags. Really nothing is safe from this sort of engraving. You just want to engrave everything. Every new engraving experiment that you do feels like a major victory. And honestly, at this stage, this is the most fun you're ever going to have. This is where creativity can flow without any kind of pressure because you don't have any deadlines and you have no customers. All you have is discovery. And here's the first trap, and I fell right into it. You suddenly think that just because your work looks great to you, people are automatically going to want to pay for it. Now, learning to use a laser is one thing, but learning the inspiration that makes people want to actually pay money for something is completely different. And that's what you do when you start to figure things out in stage 2. Stage 2 on your journey is where things really start to get interesting. It's the side hustle. This is where you realize, hey, maybe people will actually pay for this hobby that I've chosen. So you start to sell a few things to friends, maybe you hit a local market or two, or you throw a few things up online someplace, and you get that first sale, and it feels amazing. But then you realize that there's a reality kicking in here. Now you have to make it again. You have to pack it, ship it, deal with messages from customers, and suddenly this is a whole thing. This is where you start learning what actually sells versus what you really like to make, and it's sometimes quite different. You realize that customers care more about presentation and personalization than they do about those perfect settings that you toiled so long to learn. But the biggest trap in this stage, and I see it all the time, is treating your side hustle like it's just a hobby that pays for itself. So you underprice your products, you skip any sort of branding, you just focus on making cool stuff. And that definitely works for a while until you hit your first wall. And what is that wall, you're asking? Well, that's where most people either quit this whole hobby/side hustle or they level up to stage 3. And that's where things start to get really serious. Stage 3 is what I call the busy shop. You've gone from the occasional order to being pretty much in constant production mode. You're not just playing with your laser anymore. You're running a real operation, even if it doesn't always feel like it. You're reinvesting in better materials, maybe upgrading your laser, buying a rotary, maybe adding an enclosure. You're basically figuring out which products actually make money and which ones just are eating up your time. And this is where things start to hurt a little sometimes, because suddenly you're the engraver, you're the designer, the marketer, the customer service rep, and the shipping department all rolled into one. If you stop for a day, your whole business stops, and that's a killer. The trap here is thinking that more orders equals more success. But what actually happens is you hit a ceiling. Your time, your energy, your equipment all max out. You realize you've built a business that depends completely on you. And that's when you have to make a choice. Do you stay stuck at busy mode, or do you start building a real business that can grow beyond your current limits? Stage 4 is the real business. This is where you stop thinking like a maker who owns a laser and start thinking like a business owner who happens to laser engrave. You start building systems instead of fighting fires, jigs for repeat jobs, pre-cut blanks to save some time, automated messages so you don't have to sit in front of a screen and answer email. Everything you do is starting to run smoother because you've stopped winging it and you've started planning for real growth. You probably know your best selling products by now, the ones that actually make money and don't cause you a whole lot of headaches. You focus on your niche, build relationships with repeat customers, and maybe you even add a second laser or maybe some help to free up some of your time. But the new trap is triggered when you get too comfortable. You've figured out what works, so it's tempting to just keep repeating that forever. But the market changes very fast, and if you stop innovating, you're going to slowly fade away. Stage 4 is where you finally feel legit, but it's also where the next leap happens. This is when your laser shop starts to become a real brand. Stage 5 is the scalable brand. This is where you go from, I'll say, running a simple laser engraving business to running a brand that people are going to recognize and trust. You spent a lot of time building a system that keeps your business running, but now you need to focus bigger and focus on growth that's going to last. You might launch your own product line or collaborate with local companies or even teach others if you want to run some kind of an educational program. At this stage, people don't just want to buy your products. They want to buy your whole story. And your brand has to stand for something. It might be quality or craftsmanship or creativity, and that's what's going to keep customers coming back. But there's one more trap, and it's a big one. You could lose touch with why you started this business in the first place. That same spark that got you into lasers, that curiosity and joy, that's what built all of this, and you definitely don't want to lose it. Now, I'm still learning about my own business every single day, but staying focused on that end goal, which is to build something that matters and lasts, that's what made this entire journey worth it for me. So, which stage are you at in your business right now? Drop a comment down below and let me know, and we can start a discussion about it. And if you want to see how to move from one stage to the next, then make sure you hit the subscribe button, because I have a long playlist of business-focused videos, and I will happily create more to share any aspect of my business journey. And with that, I'll wind down and I'll say get out there, make your world, and I'll see you next time.